Hi folks, I'm Sheila and welcome to Counsellor Convos. Let's get stuck in. Hello folks and welcome to another episode of Counsellor Convos. For those that don't know me, I'm Sheila McMahon. I'm a registered mental health counsellor and I just love having chats with people. And I am really excited about my guest today. And if you're happy to introduce yourself in however way you feel comfortable to do so.
Blimey. My name's Simon Price. I'm the chairman now. I was the CEO, but I got sacked. Of Arthur Price, our family company. We make cutlery and gifts and silverware and sell it all over the world.
Fantastic stuff, Simon. And thank you so much for making time to be here today for us to have a chat. And we've kind of left it open to whatever comes up, whatever we want to chat about. Obviously, I have an interest in men's mental health and about well-being and stuff like that. But sometimes I think it's nice just to have the chat. Simon, do you mind saying a bit more about you and your story? I'd love to hear about your story, if that's okay.
Well, first of all, I wasn't sacked.
Okay.
My son took over in August last year. I just want to clarify that.
Thank you,
Well,
Simon. Okay.
it'll be the first time I've been sacked. I went to I went to private school. I went to a place called Repton from 1973 to 1978.
Sure.
And then I went to Bradford University for 4 years. And then I joined my dad, who was at the time in charge. In 82, he just moved his factories from Birmingham to Lichfield and to Sheffield. And I thought, I'm better used to him than I am doing something else. So that I just walked in at that point and helped him. And I've been here ever since. So I've been here 44 years. We've got a lovely wife, 3 kids, 5 grandchildren. And I suppose I'm coming to the end of my career now when it comes to business, but I'm stepping back, not stepping away.
Sure. Yeah. Wow, Simon. All those decades of
I know.
experience.
Well, I don't know about that. It's a lot of hours, that's for certain, and lots of
Um,
ups and downs.
Absolutely. I feel like you're the perfect guest, Simon, actually, because you've been in business, you've been in family business. What's it like being part of the family business from your point of view?
Listen, there's loads of ways of answering that question. It's
Yeah.
it's fabulous. Being in a family business on the plus side, we'll go to the plus sides first. It's great. It's great because you do get freedom. You can make decisions quickly. You haven't
Yeah.
got to go through boards. There's somebody, people like family businesses because they like to be able to talk to somebody who's a member of the family. There's a
Yeah.
personality. There's a different culture in family businesses. So it's a wonderful place to be as long as it's going well.
Yes.
Now, when it's not going so well, it's not so easy because you're very lonely. It's a very lonely place
Mm.
because you tend to, take your worries home with you and you don't really share them. And that's a mistake a lot of people make.
So,
So,
Simon, you mentioned about your wife then. So,
yeah,
is she part of the business? Is she
no, no,
so
no, no, no.
okay? So,
Not because I just don't think that would work. I mean, for
sure.
me, I think, you spend a lot of time at work, and if you spend a fair amount of time at home, putting the two together would be an instant disaster, I think. So it
Y-
would be for me.
Yeah,
Apart from she's a radiographer, so she doesn't really know much about cutlery, as I know nothing about radiography. So our skill sets don't match.
do you think that works well? The fact that you're opposites, that you do
Oh,
totally different things.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I mean, we don't. It's funny. We have each other in common, but not a lot of other things. No, taking my wife to a cricket match wouldn't go down well, and equally going to a pop concert wouldn't go down well with me. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's embracing that, embracing those differences, and you need that exactly that. That if you feel like that if your wife was working the business as well as all of your family, that would be too much. That kind of you're there during the day with your family. When you go home at night, you've got a bit of a break. She does something different. Yeah, you can understand. I mean, I wonder how do they do it when they're actually married to, their business partner?
I have no idea. I've no idea. It just wouldn't work for me. And it's hard enough in family businesses working sometimes with your own blood. Never mind working with your
Yeah.
wife or your partner. I mean, my history will tell you that the third generation normally screws things up. Uh,
Wow, that's an interesting statement.
well,
So,
historically, the guy who founds the business. Bear in mind, our company was founded in 1902. It's a long time ago.
okay,
Um, the son tends to want to be in this, and the third one probably doesn't want to be in it, and then blows all the money. So we should have been finished around about 1935, 1940, but luckily we kept going. So it's an interesting one. My grandfather had four children. No, my great
okay,
grandfather, sorry, had four children, and as it was, you've got to bear in mind we're talking just after the Victorian period, so it's a very different world then. There was no there was a working class really, and there wasn't much of a middle class. That's the way it was. And
sure.
my grandfather wanted to better himself, so he left a business and started the business in 1902. He was 37 when he started the business. He had four kids, two boys, two girls, in those days, the boys joined the business, and the girls in those days probably took a dividend or a share to get an income. So my great uncle took over, and his younger brother was my grandfather, and my great uncle passed away in the 40s, and just the war began, the Second World War, and my grandfather took over. He was a bit like the King's Speech. He didn't expect ever not to have his brother, and
Sure.
was never expected to run the business. He was in charge of production. That's what he wanted to do. Anyway, he had no choice. He took over, and then he had a son and a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my father, and he joined in 1948. He didn't want to join the business. He didn't get on particularly well with his father. In fact, didn't get on at all with his father.
Right,
They're just
okay.
different types of people.
Mm.
So I joined in '82, and then my brother joined, and then my brother went his own way, and that was so. And my son came along, and that was that. So I've been lucky, really, because there haven't been too many men, I suppose, in the very early days. So you just came my way by luck, really. So I got stuck into it in '82, and I've loved it, to be fair. But there've been some downsides.
Simon, did you love it from the very beginning? Like, was it your choice to go into the business, or was it an
Yes.
expectation?
No, 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 no. I think no. Was there an expectation? I think my father would dreamt of having his son in the business, but I've always wanted to go, as did my son want to always come to business. I mean, he used to come here when he was 14, 13, 14, 15. He used to
Yeah.
just that's part of his DNA.
Wow, fantastic stuff. So there's so much history in that. I mean, let's just pause for a moment. 1902
Mm.
was when the business started. What does that mean to you now when you reflect back on that?
Well, we got a registration number of 75016. So we're the 75th thousandth company to ever be incorporated. And I think if you try to incorporate a company now, you'd be about 4.3 million.
Okay.
Right. So there's a lot of companies come and gone in between time.
Yeah,
Um, pride. And I think the fact that we're still 100% company owned, we've got no outside shareholders. There can't be many companies like us around
sure.
with that continuity. There are
Yeah.
lots of, I mean, I say, for example, I'm making this, well, I'm not making it up, but Cadbury's bought Fry's, for example. I'm
Hmm.
sure Fry's are older than us, but they don't trade anymore. They trade under Cadbury's or
Yeah.
whoever they own by now. So, you get a lot of that takeover going on, but the company still kind of exists, but doesn't trade.
So this is really special. Your
Mm.
company is really unique in that way, and it's a fantastic achievement. So it makes me wonder, what have you done well? You've obviously done something really well as a company, and when you reflect back on that, what would you say has, your approach, your strategies, what would you say has helped the fact that you've lasted for so long?
Well, you've used a word there which I'll never ever use.
Okay,
It's called strategy.
sure.
I don't have one. Strategy is based on things not changing.
Okay.
So if you've got a battle going on, you've got a strategy as long as the enemy doesn't move. I'm afraid life moves.
Okay.
Uh, as soon as the enemy moves, your strategy has gone out the water,
Yeah.
if you think about it. So I don't believe in the word strategy. I believe in planning as best you can, as far as you
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe in. What we've done a lot of that. I suppose really, my father started advertising the brand as it was then, Arthritis of England then,
Hmm.
in the 60s, and that gave us, I suppose we're we're better known than we are size wise. So the brand is bigger than the company. I
Okay.
mean, and he kept that going through the 60s and 70s and into the 80s. When the retail model was a very different place then, when there were things called department stores, which seem to have disappeared. There are
Hmm.
people called retailers, which seem to have disappeared. So the whole thing was a different model then. So the brand was very strong, and I suppose we've just adapted with time, just changed and adapted with, and we were able to do that. But Sheila, we've made some absolute howlers over the years, so don't you worry about that. You need a bit of luck.
Isn't that part of it though? Isn't it every successful business? Haven't they made horrendous decisions or
Yeah,
just things haven't gone their way?
yeah, and it's all down to control, really. I mean, I think what can happen with family business is you can lose control
Okay.
uh, of many things. The basics in business are so simple, and yet they're so people miss them all the time. Your gross profit is one. People don't look at their gross profit; they just
Okay.
think they've made some money, or they have lost some money, or it's a bit of a shock they've lost some money. That's ridiculous. They don't watch their costs. Then they can spiral. Some
Yeah.
you can control, some you can't, obviously,
Yeah.
and they don't watch their cash. You've got those three things are absolutely critical. You've got your gross profit, you've got your costs under control, and you've got your cash under control. You've got a good chance. But as soon as one of those things goes, I won't use that word, wrong. I was going
Okay.
to use it began with something and ended up with up. I was going to use that. Uh,
I know what you're going to use. That's
but
okay. Ben can edit this if he needs to.
as Scott would do, he'd bleep it out. Um, no, so those that once you lose control of those things, it's very hard. And the other thing, which I mentioned briefly earlier, is it's lonely. You don't have anybody to really talk to when things are wrong because there's a sense of guilt, and so you therefore take it home with you and try and block it out and invoke the hope strategy, which is another word which is ridiculous, but people do it, and the hope is going to come right in the end. And you know something, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky now. I've got my son who's been with me now 11 or 12 years.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and
Is that James who I met earlier on?
James, who you met earlier,
Oh, yeah.
and
He seems like a lovely guy.
he's a lovely guy. He's got tremendous respect. He's got tremendous ability. He's just a good guy, and he's got those levers, and he understands the levers in business. And as long as he stays with those, he'll be fine.
Sure, absolutely. Simon, if it's okay, I'm going to ask you a bit more about something you were saying. Now, I know you'll tell me to feck off if you don't want
No,
to.
I won't. Probably it depends what you ask me.
You can, exactly. So just picking up on the lonely bit,
Mm,
that, because I suppose when you think of kind of mental well-being,
mm,
that's a massive factor. And when we think of businesses and business owners, that
mm.
the loneliness, can you give me an example of a time when you felt particularly lonely?
Oh, I got yeah. I did nothing about it either, which is another mistake.
Okay,
Um, I think it was about 22 years ago, I suppose. The bank came to see me,
okay.
as they did, and then more than one person turned up, which is always a shock. And they just basically turned around and said, "We don't want you to bank with us anymore."
Wow, that must have been a shock.
Yeah, it was, and I didn't do much about it really. I thought, well, that's not really going to happen. It did happen, and I was in a situation there where I couldn't really handle that one, so I had to get external help to sort that one
Okay.
out. And that began a complete raft of changes by getting somebody to support and help you sort out the obvious mistakes or the obvious things that needed sorting. And that was
Simon, do you think that's important that actually to be able to ask for external help when you need it, that you're not
absolutely.
trying to do everything yourself?
It's ridiculous. It's silly, really, Sheila, because if you've got a problem with a neighbour next door whose hedge is too high,
Okay.
you don't deal with it yourself. You get a solicitor to help you out.
Yeah.
You don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
If you've got a pension fund and you want to know how to invest that pension, funny enough, you go and see a pension advisor
Yeah.
because they know more about you. Now, in businesses, people don't do that. They think they know the answer, and they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a weird thing. They just, I suppose it's that you feel ashamed that you don't know the answer, or you just, in my case, just put your head in the sand and hope a Harley Davidson didn't drive up behind you.
Yeah. I'm loving your honesty, Simon. I'm
There's only
really.
one way to be, that's the way it is.
Yeah, and like I'm hearing actually that kind of expectation for you to know all the answers, and lots of business, people, men, women, they really struggle with that. This expectation where they feel they should know everything, and almost like they should feel ashamed if they ask for help. Whereas, as you rightly gave those examples, it doesn't make sense. If you needed help with the hedge, the other things,
Yeah.
you'll be getting that outside help. It
If you,
actually
if you don't
doesn't
like your
make
if you don't
sense.
like if you don't like your garden and you've got an idea what to do, you get somebody in to do it. You don't try and do it yourself
Yeah.
because it's going to go terribly wrong.
Was that something that you learned then, son? Was it a case of that initially you were trying to do it all yourself and then you were feeling ashamed, feeling guilt, and then eventually you were like, hang on a minute, it's okay to get in external help for
I no,
different issues?
I had no choice.
Okay.
I really had no choice, but it was the best thing that happened. But I had no choice.
Yeah.
You get to a stage where you haven't got a bank and you've got an overdraft, you've got a problem.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were pretty brutal, the bank at the time. I won't mention who they were, but they were very brutal at the time. The external help helped control that situation to a certain extent. And then the bank had to give their money back at the end, which was rather nice of them because they were a little bit too cruel.
Do you mind saying more about that, Simon? That they were actually brutal, the bank at
Well,
the
they were
time.
brutal, yeah. I mean, I won't use the exact numbers because that's not fair.
Okay.
But let's just say, for example, we owed, for the sake of this argument, £1 million, and we were
Sure.
paying, let's say, 2% of our base, for
Yeah.
the sake of that argument. Immediately, they changed that to 5% over base,
Okay.
and then put, I think, a £2,500 charge in per month. So not only were you getting a situation that you wanted to bring your overdraft down, but they made it considerably harder by doubling the amount you were paying on interest and incurring a £30,000 per annum charge.
That's shocking.
Now, it was shocking,
Yeah.
but with fairness to the banks, they were getting slaughtered in around about 2007, 8, when the banking crisis came.
Okay.
And they all reviewed their charges that they had been charging people and realized that they completely overcharged us, and they gave the money back. But that's only because of the banking crisis.
Wow. And
So,
then to be in the center of all of that when you're running a family business, and I can imagine the responsibility that comes with that, the members that are in that business, the employees, you
oh
know,
yeah,
you've got people's lives, the knock-on effect,
and they weren't aware of it, and that's even worse because I was unable to be able to talk about the situations that we were all in. That came as a shock, so it was even worse. But having said that, when that happens, you know who your loyal people are and who aren't, and most stood up and took the problem on,
Okay.
and we got through it, and we got through it very quickly. Took us a couple of 3 years.
Yeah.
A lot of some people who probably shouldn't have been there at the time anyway disappeared, and we ended up with a much stronger business.
Isn't it interesting
And then
that
COVID is exactly the same situation.
yeah, at the time, everything feels like it's falling apart. I mean, myself as a counselor, you can imagine that I've got business owners coming to me when they feel like everything's falling apart and
Mm.
they feel like they're breaking down, but sometimes they're actually breaking through
Yeah,
because sometimes it kind of has to happen to create that massive shift that's needed.
yeah, exactly. I mean, absolutely. I mean, COVID was another thing.
Mm,
COVID was a horrendous time for millions of people.
yeah,
Well, actually, for me, A, I could come into work. B, the weather was fantastic.
yeah,
And my son could come into work because at the time he was staying with me anyway, so that was not breaking any rules. Um, we had three other people in the business, but in different units, so nobody ever saw anybody, and so we weren't doing anything wrong. And we just sat in this room and said, right, this is what the company's going to look like in 6 months, and that's exactly what we did.
Wow.
And it again, it was a big change for the business. It was a big, but
Yes.
it needed to be done again. And you know something, Sheila, probably in 15, 20 years' time, there will be another situation where
Yeah.
James will have to look back and think, right, we've got to do something about this before this happens. And that's the thing. You've got to do something about it before it happens, not after it bloody happens.
Sure.
And I was tending to do things after it happened. Now I'm doing things before it happens.
Do you know, that's fantastic advice, Simon? That really is,
Well, thank
and that whole theme of change, that for a business to survive, it has to be able to adapt to change and not be afraid of change. It's like,
you.
for
No,
example, my business very much went online during the pandemic. I
exactly.
had to learn to be IT savvy. And I
Yeah.
remember before the pandemic, I used to say, oh, I can't do IT. I can't. And I had to change my mindset. That was the first thing I had to do, from I can't to how can I?
Yeah.
Because that was the first thing I remember thinking. I knew that myself as a counselor, that I had to change up here that mindset to be able to adapt to the changes.
Yeah, but you did the same thing. A lot of people change for the change's sake and then make some cracking mistakes doing that. I
Okay.
mean, it's a bit like if you're selling chocolates, don't sell bread.
Yeah.
Well, why? You're not known for selling bloody bread. Don't sell it. I mean, I've seen so many businesses take a brand, and suddenly, I mean, there's a few ceramic companies who have gone off the rails. I've seen one suddenly decide that they're going to bring the well known for making teapots and plates, etc., and they
Yes.
decide they're going to sell tea. Right. Okay. Or belts or Egyptian cotton. And well, guess what? Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Stick with your
That's
core values. Stick with your core values for by all means, but don't go off on a tangent.
yeah. And I would imagine what the actual core product is.
Yeah, we're known for cutlery. That's what we're
Yes.
known for primarily. So we'll stick with cutlery. We'll adapt. We'll change. We'll add different designs, different names. We're just working with William Morris right now, Sophie Conran,
Yeah.
Clive Christian. So you can add other people's names to change it, but it's still at the end of the day an after price product.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to be careful.
Absolutely. It's funny, Simon. Do you know what that makes me think of is when we met a couple of weeks ago. So we met on Lichfield Radio, and it was
We
wonderful
did.
because we were all
You were
guests.
doing a book launch the following Saturday.
Yes. So I had my book launch, and it's interesting, the very thing you were saying there about stick with kind of your core thing.
Mm,
So
mm.
my core thing is obviously mental health, you know. Now
Sure.
we know that that could go off for different tangents, and we know that okay, so I've done the book launch, my second book, which happens to be a poetry book. And it's interesting, Simon, as I listen to your advice, I'm thinking I've done that actually, because somebody people approaching me with a poetry book saying, oh, will you go to these poetry kind of specific poetry places? And I was like, no, because that's not what I'm about. I'm
No,
about the mental health education. My focus isn't on being a poet. Do you know
no,
what
and neither would I come to you with a broken arm.
I mean? Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's
I
just
tell
because
you to feck off.
exactly, but it is illogical what people do. They suddenly think it's a good idea, and it isn't. And then you
Yeah,
you end up getting. And the worst thing about doing that is also your focus goes off. It
yeah,
goes off towards that tangent. You invest money in that tangent. It just gets worse.
yeah.
And salespeople and you've got to. That's I go on forever here.
Go
Um,
on, go for it.
salespeople are always driving for something new.
Yeah,
They always want something new to sell. The problem is they forget that you've got £2 million of stock which needs selling, and so you've got to sometimes reel those type of people in, and it is difficult. So you do get business owners get a lot of pressure from in their internal system as much as they do from the external system,
yeah.
and having the strength to say no is sometimes quite hard.
That's massive, Simon, just hearing that back, having the strength to say no. And
Exactly.
I could imagine, Simon, you must get, throughout the years, I could imagine you'll have one person advising you this, another person advising you that. I bet you've had conflicting
Oh,
advice
huge,
throughout your
huge,
career.
huge, huge.
Yeah,
I mean, and it happens every year.
yeah.
We always get, and we had that conversation in the management meeting yesterday.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, where you totally fecked up again. Um, and it was all down to being driven to bring stock in for a specific customer,
Yeah.
who then changes their bloody mind. Too late, it's here. Yeah. So you've just got to be. That's an example of an external influence driving
Yes.
your business, and you got to again. We've got to say no.
You almost need to shut down the noise. It's
Yeah, you
like
do.
with my book launch and the amount of messages I had on Instagram, you can publish, you advertise your book here, and if you do this, we'll pay you money for that. I was just like, frick off. I haven't even answered any of them because to me, that's just noise. Like, to me, I know myself that behind every business or whatever people's purpose is the actual person themselves. And the person has to feel that they're working with their core values and ethics. So
Yeah.
I'm very aware that as I do stuff publicly, that you can easily get waylaid, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And the next thing you know, you feel that this external stuff is controlling you instead
Yeah.
of you controlling your life. And inner conflict is what I deal with all the time with clients because of these external influences and exactly what you were saying, Simon, being able to say no. So it's really important to be true to your core values.
It does depend on you. I mean, underneath this bravado is actually a very shy person.
Okay,
So what you see is not really me. I mean,
sure.
I've made myself into the last 20 years into much more. I don't, public speaking, I don't mind doing, but you'd asked me 20 years to do that, and I would have
Wow.
run a
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah.
So I taught myself to do that, pushed myself to do that.
How did you do that, Simon?
I did it. I did it. Well, I was pouncing around as sheriff of Lichfield 20 years ago, and
Okay.
and I knew that when I walked into that, I didn't have much time really, but I knew I'd have to be out there wearing a doily and a silly hat and blue
Yeah.
velvet. They're very smart. And you have to say things, you have to do things, and I wasn't ready for that at all. So I decided that I'd do some talks here to various groups. They could be WI groups, they could be
Yeah.
any group that wanted to listen to me. And I pushed myself into speaking in front of 40 or 50 people about a subject I knew about. So I wasn't going to get tripped up, although some
Sure.
people do. Some people do try and trip you.
Okay.
So I pushed myself to do that. Now, when I was a kid, I wouldn't ask for I wouldn't go to a Mr. Whippy and ask for an ice cream. I couldn't do that. I just could
Okay.
not do that. Just totally out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
so I pushed myself to. I'm still shy today. I mean, I prefer somebody else ask somebody than I will.
Okay.
It's still weird, isn't it? But this bravado,
Yeah.
that's what people see. That's what people believe. It's
Wow,
fine.
Simon. I mean, like, thank you so much for
That's all right.
sharing that. I think it's going to help so many people because, you talk about kind of like masks and bravado and stuff like
Mm.
that. And, lots of people will be able to relate to that, Simon. They were almost
Which
like the whole imposter syndrome. There's a lot of people that are very successful, but they still feel like they're a fraud because inside they're still very shy, very, insecure for some people that they almost don't believe their own successes.
Yeah, I never see it as I never think about success ever.
Okay.
Um, I just don't. To me, as long as we're here next year and the next generation, so I'm a custodian, really, no more. But again, another thing that people fall in the trap of is greed.
Okay. Say
Unbelievable.
more.
Yeah, it's you have a good year, I'll take all the money out. Well, next year might not be so good, mate.
Yeah.
And it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. It's greed, and I don't want a Porsche. I don't. That's not something material things. It's easy to say that, frankly, when you've got a
Yeah,
job.
and if you do, that's okay. And if you can afford a Porsche, well, that's
You
even better.
It is, but you've got to be able to afford it, not just have it on that one day. And
Yeah.
people have illusions of grandeur, and they want to do this, they want a second home here, and they want to do that, and they want to do that. Forget it. Not interested. Not interested.
Well, what matters to you then, Simon, as a person, when you think of your values, just kind of what's important to you? What is?
I, well, that's a good question, I suppose, really.
Mm.
All your questions are good, of course.
Oh, thank you, Simon. I'll pay you
Okay,
later.
I'll
No, I
just make.
won't. You've got more money than me. Feck off.
I was making that up. The I suppose now my is basically working as probably as long as I want to. Really,
Yeah,
I'm happy now. The company is relatively secure in James's hands. He's got a good team around him. Home, I love being at home. I love my garden. I love my cricket mainly, and my
sure.
grandchildren and my three children. That's it really.
You've
What else?
mentioned your three children. James, who I briefly met. Who else is your
I've got James is I forget how old they are now. 37. Victoria or Tori is 35, and my gift from God is 29.
Oh,
Harry.
Harry.
So they're all yeah, they're all they're great. They're all doing well. So I'm happy for them. We're all going away weekend after next, or the whole lot, including the grandchildren and the dogs. So that'll be an interesting
Wow,
coming
that'd be a
together.
proper family get together.
Yeah, yeah,
With Harry and Tori, Victoria, did you
yeah,
say?
yeah.
Uh,
Victoria. Now James couldn't say Victoria. That's why she became Tory. That's why.
okay, good stuff, Tori. So did they are they in the family business or are they doing
No,
something
no.
different?
Tori's got three children under 7,
Okay,
yeah, which is pretty full time, and she also does translating, and she teaches children languages, young children. So
fabulous.
she's got her own, her own path
Yeah,
ready. And Harry is in London, and he's doing. I think he's just starting a recruitment company. So
okay,
he wants to be in London, and I don't think he'd really want to work for his brother, and I get that.
sure.
And I don't think either of them. I think there'd be all kinds of issues really. And
Simon, I wonder as the generations have gone on,
mm,
because your business has been gone through so many generations. Wonderful. I wonder earlier on, we'll say like the father, the son's with, like you mentioned, your dad he didn't want to actually go into the business initially.
sure, sure,
And there was a difficult relationship between your father and his father. I
sure.
just wonder, as the generations have come along, has it been more lenient? Like, for example, Tory, Harry, if they want to go into the business, great. If they don't, no problem at all.
Yeah, there was
Do you think
no.
there's a bit more compromise?
I think there's a lot. I mean, going back to 80 years, there's a lot more pressure. I don't think there
Yeah,
is now. No, I would never want my children to work here if they A didn't get on with each other and B didn't
yeah,
want to work here. What's
yeah.
the point of that? And there's a difference. James can talk to me in a way that I couldn't talk to my father, although I
Okay.
was very close to my father. There was still a line um, where there isn't a line now.
How do
Uh,
you mean, Simon, when you
well,
say that you couldn't speak?
he could
What do you
James,
think
he
was
could
in the
talk to me
way?
about anything. He will talk to me about anything,
Wow.
literally anything.
Yeah.
Whereas I would talk to my dad, let's say, about 60% of the things.
Okay.
My father would talk to his father probably about 5%.
Yeah.
So the attitudes between parents and children has dramatically changed.
Yes. All for the generations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And friend. People say this, and people I think still get this wrong. But you're still a father, but you're still a friend. But you're not
Okay.
a friend and then a father.
Sure.
You've got to get that right.
Father first, then a friend.
Yeah, not
O-
friend and father, because you
Okay.
can't pull that. You can't pull that back. It's too late. But with my father, he was definitely father more than friend, but definitely still a friend. I
Okay.
think my father's father, I don't think he'd ever call him a friend. So it
Yes.
changes. And, children were treated completely differently 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
differently. Seen and not heard. And that's how it was.
Did you have any of that, Simon? When you
with my with my
passed on, being seen and not heard, kind of passed on maybe from your grandfather or
no, I love my grandfather. My grandfather on my father's side, he's a lovely man. I bet he was a tough man, but he wasn't tough with me.
Okay.
My other grandfather sadly passed away when I was 4, but
Oh,
my grandmother again was a very tough lady on my
okay.
mother's side. But I was a blue-eyed boy, so I didn't see it. You know,
Right.
she probably protected me more than anybody else at that time.
You got the nice sides of them.
I got the nice sides of my grandparents without doubt, but
Yeah.
then again, it was a very funny time. My parents split up when I was 4, so that was a pretty horrible time. And
Oh,
your
yeah.
grandparents became quite important to you.
Yes, absolutely. Grandparents are very important, actually.
They are. They are very important to you.
They have
Yeah.
a lot of influence on childhood. And
Yep.
you mentioned your parents split when you were 4.
Yeah.
And you said that that was tough. I mean, did they explain any of that to you as to what
Well,
was going on? Or
yeah. Well, I think about it a lot.
yeah,
Well, why I think about it a lot, but I do. No,
okay,
my parents were. I was born in a place called Hopwood, which is near a place called Alvechurch,
okay,
just outside Birmingham, which just on the border of Worcestershire.
mm,
And my parents split up. My mother's father was Indian,
okay.
so that was to a certain extent. I suspect that was a complication in the 50s.
Absolute the culture and yeah, and
My grandfather was Indian, and he lived in a quite a nice house over the field from where my other grandparents lived. So that's where my parents lived. You
yeah,
know, nobody ever talks about nobody. My mother's still alive, but she doesn't. Nobody ever talks about how they found it hard to integrate into rural life, which I
okay,
suspect they did. You didn't see too many Indians in the 30s
sure.
with a white English lady. You didn't see it. You just didn't. You know,
Yeah, and
there was
people were scared of stuff that they didn't
yeah,
see.
it was like an alien.
Yes,
There was only radio. Only wealthy people could read. It was interesting, isn't it? We're
yeah,
talking 100 years ago now, but not many people had a newspaper. You know, it was the radio, or that was it. No television. So to see an Indian man, I would have thought would have been quite a shock in a local village.
yes, absolutely.
But anyway, he didn't get past. So my mum and dad split up. They got married in 54,
Okay,
28th of August. I'm good with dates. Don't know
you
what.
are good with dates.
And they split up in 1964, 10 years later. My
Okay,
father just moved out, um, left us in the kind of family home, in inverted commas. He got himself into a one-bedroom flat. Nobody ever knows. Nobody ever really knows the real reason. There's two sides to every coin.
isn't that interesting? It wasn't spoken about. That's of its time again, isn't it?
No, and you know, the only person I've asked that question to is my family doctor. So my mother's brother was a surgeon.
Okay,
He operated on me on my neck just to take a cyst out of my neck, which is very kind of him in London, which
okay,
is fine until it came about how do you get the stitches taken out without having this kind of registered anywhere. So I
yeah,
thought the only person who can do that was my mum and dad's friend who was a GP,
mm-hmm,
family doctor. And I went to see him, a guy called Uncle Lou. I used to go. And I went to see him in that neck of the woods. He took these stitches out very quickly.
yeah.
And then I said, Uncle Lou, tell me, why did mum and dad split up? And he was their friend in the 50s.
Ah, okay.
He looked at me and said, I've no idea. He said, I've never seen two people more in love in my life.
Wow, Simon, do you have any thoughts
Do
about that now? Do you have any theories about that now as to why
I
they
what?
split up?
Say again.
Do you have any thoughts or theories now
No,
about why they split up?
I no, not really. My dad blamed my mum. Obviously, my mum blamed my dad. I suspect my dad wasn't the most loyal of people.
Okay.
Let's leave it there. I
Yeah.
think and then of course they have to wait 5 years in those days to get divorced,
Wow, yeah.
unless there was an agreement, which there was never going to be. So mum and dad got divorced, and my dad got married a week later. Little to my knowledge, I didn't know.
What? He got married a week later. But this
After
was after the
yeah,
5 years. Ah,
yeah.
fair enough. Okay,
And
okay.
I found out when my mum read it to me when I was living with my grandmother and my mother in her house. When she found out in the newspaper.
What? And you would have been about what, 9 or something or 10?
So that was a shock. Um, not
Wow,
even met the
Simon,
lady.
you've had a few shockers in your life, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. That was
That's an
that was horrible.
EastEnders. Doof, 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 doof.
Oh no, it was horrible. So, but I lived with my mum. My mum was. I didn't have too. I love, you love your mother, but I don't have many memories.
Yeah.
Good memories about my mum. To be fair, when I was a kid, I have lots of good memories about my dad, but not my mum.
Oh,
Weird, isn't it?
okay. Did
And
you
my
say your mum is still alive, Simon?
yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's
How's she
90.
doing, kind of health-wise and stuff?
She's 97 this year. Is she 97?
Okay.
96 this year. Born in
Yeah.
1930. Yeah, no, she's doing remarkably well. But she's
Okay.
and we're still in contact. But I was very close to my father. Very close.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course, bloody court order comes along. They end up in court, and I can see my father. I can remember it to this day. 9 till 7 on a Sunday. The following Sunday was 2 till 7. The following Sunday was 9 till 7, and then the
Wow.
following weekend I could spend the night with him, and that was it. And that lasted till I was 18.
What was that like for you?
Horrible.
Yeah,
Because I wanted to be with your dad. You want to be with your dad.
absolutely.
So,
How
I'm
old, Simon, how old were you when you went into business with your dad then?
22.
Okay, so you'd all those earlier years, all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I went to boarding school at 12, so I
Yes.
basically left home from 12 till 22 anyway. So all the way through university.
Right, okay. Of course, you would have been away then,
I was
kind of.
away a lot of it. So yeah, but that's good and bad in its own right. But
Yeah,
no, and I was under that court order until I was 18, technically. I mean, silly things used to happen, Sheila. I mean, my dad, one of my favorite places my dad used to say was Jersey. It was a
okay.
special place.
Yeah.
And I remember once that he took us out there for 2 weeks and then brought us back after a week. Went home for a week and then flew us back out for a week.
Okay.
My mother had pointed out to him that nowhere in the agreement did it say that he could have us for 2 consecutive weeks.
Tough times,
Yeah,
Simon.
stupid.
Tough times. And
They say love
unfortunately,
and hate are very close, Sheila. They say they're very close.
yeah, and like, for you, then your parents, I mean, like, isn't it incredible, when you look back on, your experiences and, like the things that we all survive, if you like, and the things we get through. And sometimes it is nice to kind of reflect back on that. And yeah, it was different times, and some of it doesn't make it okay, but it kind of helps to make sense. Because I know myself, like counseling a lot of kids, that when parents split up, they blame themselves, and if they don't have proper explanations and questions answered, they make up their own narrative with that.
They
Um,
do. They
it's
do, and they tend, and normally, well, it depends how it all goes, but
mm,
you get your mother can very much influence where you go at that age.
yeah.
I wasn't going to let that happen, but I mean, I suppose you've got to. I look at my mother and I think she saw me. She saw my father in me,
Ah, yeah, that's a common thing. Unfortunately, that happens.
and then
It's
you get
called
you get the bollocking basically.
absolutely, Simon. It's called transference, where people transfer whatever their attitudes, their behaviors, especially if they don't like somebody, and if somebody looks like that person, you're just like your father.
Exactly, exactly, and that went on for blimey 30 years.
Wow.
And I remember saying, if you're going to keep having a go at my dad, then you're not going to see your grandparents, children very often because I've had enough.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was silly. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on. It was a feud that never died.
Wow. Wow. You kind of think, wow, life is so short. Is your mum coming on this family trip now in 2 weeks' time?
No, no, I'm not taking. No, we're not taking anybody older than me.
Oh, and so nobody past 25 then,
Yeah,
Simon.
I wish, darling. I wish. I wish. No, I am a pensioner now.
You
I
look
got my
for,
first pension last month.
wow.
I'll
Wow.
probably give it all back in tax, but hey,
Simon, I think we're gonna have to chat again
yeah,
because
you're more than welcome.
I've enjoyed this so much, Simon. You're a very interesting person,
You're
to
welcome.
chat with. You really are, Simon. And I think there'll be a lot of people again, both professionally in business and personally in themselves, from you being so open and having a chat with me today. And
Well,
I
I've only just begun.
I know that, Simon. I know that. I think we just need to meet up for a cuppa, you and I.
No, I need a black couch in here. That's what I need.
Do you? Do you? Okay. Oh, Simon, but look, we'll pause this for the moment, but definitely, I think there might be a part two,
Okay, well, I'm up for it.
when we continue
As
on.
long as your emails work.
My emails work. We'll agree to disagree on that,
You just
Simon.
have to send it to James on his private one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll agree to disagree. I love
All
that.
right.
And thank you so much. So Simon, just kind of reflecting before we go back to business, sticking to the basics, watching your gross profit, all that sort of stuff. Don't be led by other people. Don't be afraid to say no. And yeah,
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
and don't be afraid to ask for help. That's massive.
You know, I remember being at school very briefly. The most stupid question is the
Hmm.
one that's not asked.
Okay.
And I think that's really important in life. If
Yeah.
you don't know the answer, ask somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Pleasure.
Simon, again, thank you so much. And
Pleasure.
I know we've got a picture of you and I with massive cutlery, so I'm going to put that out there on my
Okay.
social media. I love that picture.
You can blame
Folks,
Scott for that.
absolutely, I will. I will. Folks, we hope that you found this, you've enjoyed it and you've learned something. That's what it's all about. Half of the chat, I think none of us are the experts. We're all learning as we go along. What do you think, Simon?
I think you're absolutely right. As long as you can admit to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Simon, thank you so much again. And I
Pleasure.
look forward
Take
to
care.
seeing you again soon. Okay, take
Bye
care,
bye.
Simon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Counsellor Convos with Sheila McMahon. If you've enjoyed this episode, consider checking out her YouTube channel or pop on her website, mindmanagementforyou.com.